40 Plus is an all-volunteer, not-for-profit whose mission is to assist mid-career professionals with job search and career transition. We do that really through a core program that we call our job search program, and that's a 4-week intensive workshop that covers a multitude of areas. And actually we have one starting soon, and we'll tell you a little bit more about that at the end. But our workshop is not just about job search skills. It really is to help the participants discover their transferable skills and their success bites, so that perhaps instead of just a job, they will pivot to something new, perhaps contract work, or perhaps even to become an entrepreneur. So I know a lot of people are considering entrepreneurship, and that's why today's topic is so exciting for so many of us. So I will let Gio introduce our speaker this morning.
How many have seen Shira Harrington before here? Okay, majority of you are familiar. I mean, are familiar with Shira Harrington. Okay, a little bit. Well, okay. Well, the reason I ask is that I'm going to make the bio brief. Shira Harrington's a good friend of 40 Plus. She is an amazing career coach, but more than just that. And I'll just keep it coach. She does a variety of topics, and today she's going to do a conversation about boomers going. So I just read an article today saying that the millennials are outnumbering boomers now.
Yes.
So times are really changing. And one of the other articles I read that they're all applying now on their phones. The reason I bring that up is if you could please be so kind to turn your phones.
Unless you want to take notes.
Unless you're tweeting something or applying for a job from the information she's giving. So, no further ado. Sure.
Thank you.
And boomers going slow.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. All right, would you agree that the world of work has changed since 2008?
Yeah.
A little bit, a lot.
A lot.
A little bit, a lot. A lot. So what's been going on is a confluence of variables, right? So of course, since the Great Recession, employers have been consolidating. They've been competing globally, right? So even mom and pop shops are competing with people around the world. You have this risk aversion, right, amongst employers. And then of course you have these interesting demographics. I'm glad that Giovanni mentioned the millennials, because just to kind of lay things out for you demographically, we have 80 million baby boomers. I think a lot of you in this room fall in that category. We have 46 million Gen Xers, and we have, ready, 100 million millennials, the oldest of whom are already 35. You're competing with them, a lot of them, including all of the Gen Xers. Now, age discrimination, unfortunately, is alive and well, but here's the deal, okay? Employers don't know that they're discriminating. They don't know that they're doing that. In fact, I know that for a fact because I'm a recruiter in addition to being a coach, and I talk to employers, and they just blew it, like the eyes, really? Why? Because what are they doing? They're asking for people, right, either for whom the job is a next step, or maybe a lateral move, but certainly they don't want someone who's possibly taking a step back, who might be, as they say, over qualified. Yes, we've heard that one all the time. Okay, so if you're over a certain age, you might fall into that category. Now, of course, executive levels are a little bit different. I mean, that's that notwithstanding. But if you're seeking a mid-level position, there's no wonder, right, why you might be hearing crickets, right, when you send your resume, because of the competition, because of the risk aversion. You see where I'm going with this. Well, here's what's happened. There has been this new concept that has risen in the last number of years, and we call it the flexible workforce. Some people call it the gig economy, G-I-G, the gig economy. Okay? And just to show you what's going on here, I'm going to show you that of the 200 largest companies in the U.S., 22% of them are temporary or contract workers. Why? Because employers need to scale up and down very quickly. Do you know how expensive it is for an employer to hire somebody as a full-time employee? Anybody know? Any of the HR, anybody know this stat?
It's only like 100% of the salary.
So for somebody to lose someone, it costs them 1.5 to 3 times the employee's salary for attrition. But to keep somebody on payroll, it costs the employer 30 to 40% above your salary to keep you as an overhead. And now, unless you're in sales, that sales is different because you guys are, earn your keep. Everybody else, 30 to 40%. That's extremely expensive, right? I mean, do I get an agreement?
Yeah.
Very expensive. So, of course, if they lose someone or if they have to consider actually hiring somebody, if you were an employer, wouldn't you want to be scalable quickly, right? So what's happening now is people are setting up these organizations where they're project-based, where people kind of flow in and they flow out, project here, project there. Are those project people necessarily full-time? No. Bureau of Labor Statistics indicates that by 2020, 50% of all Americans are going to be freelancers, all American workers. We're already at 38%. I'm making a case here, guys, and I wish the room were fuller. I really do, because this is, and if anything, I'm going to preach today. Can I preach?
Yeah.
I got to preach. I got to preach. Give me an amen, wave a flag. This is my job this morning, is to preach to you. I've been recruiting for 20 years. I've been coaching for about 5. And as I started to watch this trend happen, I started to educate my own clients, my own coaching clients about this, about the need to start to consider to go solo. Now here's what would happen, inevitably. I mean, I could literally set my watch to it. I'd have this wonderful conversation with someone, and they'd say, oh, wow, exciting, and, heart palpitations, and and I talk about their career, their passion, and their purpose, and wow, how exciting. 1 week later, almost to the minute, I started getting the email from this person, and they'd say, well, Shira, dear Shira, thank you so much for this great conversation. I was so inspired. However, I really think I need to go look for a full-time job. Oh, or my spouse said, we just can't have the instability. Okay? This is what I started to hear, and I started realizing it's not just the employers who are risk averse, it's the job seekers who are risk averse. In fact, most baby boomers, I would say, would be risk averse. Why? If you are a baby boomer and you started working in either the 70s or the 80s, there was one thing that you pretty much knew was true about the workforce. It was STABLE. And you had a PENSION to go along with that stability, right? You were taught, in your formative years of work, work is stable. Is that the case anymore?
No.
And it happened right out of you, right? Almost shockingly, what's going on? Like cold water in all of our faces, and yet, Gen Xers, I'm a Gen Xer, Giovanni's a Gen Xer, we were raised in more of an entrepreneurial kind of a workforce, right? Yeah. So it's very common for a Gen Xer to say, oh, start a business, no problem, because we were the tech generation, right? We were the ones who started Amazon and Google and all of that. Millennials, absolutely. Entrepreneurialism, no problem. You say entrepreneurialism to most baby boomers, and you go, whoa, not me. Am I resonating? Do I get a witness? Okay. I know y'all. I talk all the time to people just like you. I understand what the risk aversion is, but I have to tell you, we are in a whole new world. This is the time to consider going on your own. And just to take the risk aversion away from you a little bit, did you know that if you were to actually look at contract positions, freelance positions, do you know that 50% of the time those actually lead to full-time jobs? Look, 50% of the time they lead to full-time jobs. Why? Because you come in, you're doing this work that they didn't even necessarily know they needed in as plenty or with the same skill that you had. And like, oh my gosh, we actually need you. Would you consider coming in full-time? And I've actually had clients say, you know what? No, I'd actually rather be on my own. Sometimes people actually get to that point where they enjoy doing the solo work, okay? But my point is, it can actually be a working interview. This is the point I want to make to you. I don't want you guys to be so scared of this, like, it's so unstable and, the fluctuations in income and all of this. I want you to be thinking along the lines of, this could actually lead to something full-time. So, just to show you how much money is involved here, and this was just in 2013. This is the amount of money that was generated by freelancers. And this number has to keep going because there are more and more and more people who are doing it. So, what's causing the trend? I just mentioned hiring full-time employees is expensive, competition has increased, and of course, the internet has made hiring project workers easier. They can hire people all over the world, right? You don't have to see people face-to-face anymore to get the job done. That's what's causing this flexible workforce. Not only are millennials starting businesses, boomers are as well. A quarter of all businesses are started by people between the ages of 55 and 64. Shocking, right? This is true. People over 55 almost twice as likely to create successful startups. Why do you think that is? Experience. Yeah. Maturity, wisdom, learning from your mistakes, institutional knowledge. If you're 25 years old, nothing wrong with 25-year-olds, but if you're 25, how much life experience do you have? You're 55 years old? You've learned a thing or two. Now, and again, long-term unemployment and, unfortunately, the age discrimination has created what they call necessity entrepreneurs. Okay? Now, you understand what that means, right? It's people who do this out of necessity. I would love it, okay, if people in this room were to consider this beyond just simply the necessity and say, you know what, here's an opportunity. Here's an opportunity to serve. Here's an opportunity to use my skills in a way that I'm passionate about. How often have you ever been in a job that was stopgap work? Stopgap work meaning you were very good at the job and you really didn't have a whole lot of passion for doing it. Anybody ever been in that kind of job? Okay. Tell me how much control you had over changing your job description.
I had none.
Most people don't have any. Why? Because you're working for, so to speak, the man, right? You're working for the company. You are trying to advance the goals of a larger institution than yourself, and you are fitting into the corporate cog, right? You work for yourself. Come on. What kind of opportunities do you have? And I can tell you, as one who is one, okay, I am an entrepreneur. I'm a solopreneur, actually, is what they call someone like me. I started my company to Purposeful Hire in February of 11, so it's almost been 5 years now. And let me tell you something. I've had the freedom to blossom. I've had the freedom to go where my gifts and talents and desire to serve has taken me, right? And by God's grace, it has just flourished. Why? Because I'm able to seize on these opportunities as they come about. And guess what? If I had a boss, how much freedom would I have? Who would I have to be accountable to, right? The hierarchy. I want to read to you a couple of very interesting quotes, okay? And this is by a woman named Beth Ralsted. She runs an organization, I think she runs it, but anyway, it's called Innovations in Aging Collaborative. I find a lot of people taking initiatives in their mid-50s, especially since the Great Recession of 2008. There's been this shift in view of what stable employment is. And there's been a willingness for people to recreate themselves. Maybe they've been downsized or laid off, and long-term employment benefits have been suspended, and they had to get creative about restarting. And I'm not going to have you raise your hand in this room. Can you see why she would say something like this, right? A lot of people fall into this category. Now, this one is a little bit, kind of the hard dose of reality, but I want to read it to you anyway. And this is by another group called Senior Entrepreneurship Works. A senior's chance, when she says senior, I don't know exactly how she defines it. I'm saying boomer, but anyway, she's talking about someone who's an older adult. A senior's chance of getting rehired if they're out of work for more than a year is less than 10%. She said, adding that instead of seniors continuing to look for jobs that they're not likely to land in order to collect unemployment, they should be able to invest benefits in entrepreneurship training and to seed money for new businesses without making a minimum number of job contacts. She's basically pushing, she's advocating, right, for the government to provide resources for boomers, really, to be entrepreneurs.
She's also part of an international
movement.
Her? Yeah, Elizabeth Eisel.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, these are people who are thought leaders in the industry who are preaching just like I am, right? But they're doing it on a national level, right? And truly trying to make the case that this needs to happen. The government needs to get more involved, and we need to provide opportunities. Because I'll tell you, who's got a pension plan anymore? Come on, really. I mean, it's very rare. Viewer worked for the government. My next door neighbor worked for Verizon for 30 years. She retired at 53, right? So she's got it. But I mean, we can count on one hand, right? How many types of people actually, are able to have that long-term income? So here are the objections that I hear. I, of course, hear objections all the time, and this might resonate with you, right? The cyclical nature of securing clients. Okay, when you're out there, it's hard work. I'm not going to deny that. I'm not going to paint a rosy picture. You got to get out there and pound the pavement. And yes, depending upon the kind of work that you're doing, sure, it could be cyclical. Of course. It depends on the length of your project or whether you're doing piecemeal work or if you're actually on site for a longer period. Absolutely. When you're doing the work, yes, you have to be networking for the next opportunity. There is cyclical nature. Yes, personal savings sometimes for folks who want to ramp up. And by the way, I'm going to be getting to another slide in a minute that shows you how inexpensive it is actually to start up your own thing. But for those maybe who have a little bit more startup costs, yes, you might have to dip into savings. Not having that safety net. Okay, now here's the funny part about that. You work for a full time for an employer. Tell me what kind of safety net you actually have. Zero. Right? Because you're expendable. There is no more loyalty.
But you had like long and short-term disability and and
Sure.
much better health insurance.
Just so you know, people think that, the benefits are really, the medical and health benefits are what really kind of keeps people there. When I started my company, I thought that too, and then I went to ehealth.com or ehealthinsurance.com. I got my own benefits very inexpensively, right? And I could get short-term, I can get long-term, I can get whatever I need as a solo person. The employers think, oh yes, we've got you kind of golden handcuffs, but actually there are companies out there that actually will give you, as a single person or a small business or even a small family, you don't necessarily need to go to the big boys. They have eHealth works on a volume-based business. So I have Care First. I mean, I've got the whole suite.
And then the other thing is, what about collecting? I mean, it's hard when you're in-house, but there's the collection for client work is
interesting that you'd say that too. Part of that has to do, and we can get really into deep depth here, and you're welcome to ask me questions. Go on.
I mean, I'm living that right now.
Okay.
Like, I'm having a terrible time
collecting payment, collecting payment from yeah. So first of all, that depends on what kind of clients you have. So for instance, if it's a very large company, they tend to take longer, and it's like very, you have to navigate through. Smaller companies, not as much. Sometimes it has to do with how you set up that relationship in the beginning, right? If you really make sure that you know, right, not that this is all the time, right, but the better you have a handle right at the beginning of the engagement on the contractual relationship, on their AP cycle, who in AP do you have to talk to, what information do you need to provide to kind of get it pushed through the system a little faster. Sometimes what you put in terms of your, is it net upon receipt, net 10, net 30, net, you know what I mean?
Right,
how
sure.
you do that can affect, depending on your situation. The point is there are workarounds. And you're right, there's extra work. I mean, so you have administrative work to do that you didn't have to do. But at the same time, you lose one client, you have the opportunity to get another one. You lose a client when you're full-time, it's out of your control. They can easily downsize you. You literally have no control unless you're in sales. Benefits, right. And the decreasing work-life balance. Now this depends, okay? Sure, if you're going to be, doing something where you're going to be lighting the world on fire, not everybody needs to do that. Yes, you're going to have to put in more hours. But not everybody needs that. Sometimes you could repurpose your skills into something where you don't need to be working 70 hours a week, right? But my point is, for some of you, that's going to be a bit of an objection. I just want to raise this, right, because I understand how some of you might be feeling, okay? And then again, some stumbling blocks that people might feel. An discouragement at the first glitch. Oh, well, this didn't work. I've had this happen where, somebody will say, oh, man, I sent in that proposal, I didn't get it. Okay. Right, first proposal. Right. Okay, in sales, they talk about something called a pipeline. Okay? It's literally a pipeline, and then you funnel. You have lots of opportunities here, and you funnel, and right at the end, here comes the one that takes some time, that takes some patience, that takes some, some stick-to-itiveness and follow-through, and not being so discouraged when the first thing doesn't come through. Or again, expecting immediate results. Oh God, now I'm doing it. Yeah, like you got to build a brand. You have to let people know what's going on. Or lack of support from family and friends. Now, this one is a this is a biggie. This is a biggie. And frankly, when I told you earlier, like I could set my watch to when I get the pushback from my client, this is the reason why. Mostly family, particularly if it's a spouse or somebody who has a second income. Well, I don't want our, monthly income to, kind of go rocky. Or well-meaning friends who maybe don't understand how you could repurpose your skills. Maybe they themselves are risk-averse and they're kind of putting that on you. All I can tell you is people can be very well-meaning, but if you're really that committed to it, it's something for you to look at. Insecurities about your abilities. Now, probably most people in this room, haven't had the need to do a deep dive right into your own skills to think, how could I repurpose that into a business, right? Most times you have your resume, you know what you're good at, people hire you for whatever they do, whether it's in a certain industry or a certain profession. And you kind of keep going along. And so like, all right, you're going to hire me for this, and you're going to hire me for that. Now all of a sudden I'm saying to you, wait. You have skills that you don't even realize you have that could be repurposed into something new. And it's really a matter of getting deeper into what those gifts and talents are. And I'm going to take you through an exercise in a minute to help you do that. And then again, keeping your pipeline full, which is one of the challenges, especially when you're a consultant, when you're doing the deliverable and at the same time have to keep on doing the business development. Yes, there is that balancing act there. So what it takes to succeed, and first and foremost, is a passion to serve. This cannot just be about paying the mortgage. It can't, because you will lose. You'll lose steam very quickly, right? You need to do it because you want to serve an organization or you want to serve a certain kind of clientele. You want to make an impact in their life. The name of my company's name is Purposeful Hire. My tagline is for every hire there is a higher purpose. Do you think I'm about service? Very much about service. And people who work with me know that. They can feel my passion, right? Because I really, really do care. And I believe that all of you in this room have the same thing, but probably for your own sectors, right? For the people that you want to serve that's unique to you. Again, understanding your gifts. We're going to go through an exercise. And then again, knowing what problems you can help solve. Why would anybody want to hire you? Full-time or not? Because they have what? Problems that they need help solving. So what are and we're not going to go into whole business modeling today, but I want to encourage you, if you're even going to consider this, think of it this way. And this is actually, I'd like you to write this down. Write it just in this way. What are the challenges keeping up my prospective clients at night? When I say clients, it could be a type of organization, population. Keeping my prospective clients at night that I am in a unique position to help them solve. What are the challenges, the business challenges, keeping my prospective clients up at night that I'm in a unique position to help them solve?